Nari sat in her small room on floor 15 Delta, reading her quantum physics homework on her tablet. The room was quiet, just the way she liked it. Through the large window, she could see the gas giant Helios Prime spinning slowly in space. Its purple and orange clouds swirled in patterns that helped her think. She had been living alone in the human quarters for 3 months now. The Galactic Academy Station Epsilon 7 was huge, with thousands of students from dozens of different alien species, but Nari was the only human. That made her special, but also lonely sometimes. Not that she minded being alone. Nari had always been quiet. Back on Earth, she preferred studying to parties. Here at the Academy, she followed the same routine every day. Wake up at 6 a.m., exercise for 30 minutes, eat breakfast, attend classes, study, sleep. It was simple and peaceful. The door chimed. Nari looked up from her tablet, surprised. Nobody ever visited her room. She walked to the door and pressed the open button. Standing outside was Administrator Voss, a tall alien with gray skin and 4 arms. His species, the Vectar, ran most of the Academy's daily operations. Behind him stood a young woman with black hair and bright eyes. "Student Nari," Administrator Voss said in his deep voice, "I bring good news. You will no longer be alone. This is So-Min, another human student. She will be your roommate." Nari stared at the girl. So-Min smiled and waved. "Hi, I'm Kim So-Min. I just arrived on the transport from Earth. I'm so excited to be here, but I don't need a roommate," Nari said quickly. "I'm fine living alone." Administrator Voss shook his head. "Our studies show that isolation is not healthy for young minds. Humans are social creatures. You need interaction with your own species for proper development." Nari wanted to argue, but she knew it would be useless. The aliens always thought they knew what was best for other species. "Okay," she said quietly. "Excellent," So-Min said, carrying her bags into the room. "This is going to be so much fun. We can study together and talk about Earth and everything." After Administrator Voss left, Nari watched So-Min unpack her things. The girl talked constantly, asking questions about the academy, the other students, the classes, the food. Nari answered politely but felt uncomfortable. Her peaceful routine was already broken. "The artificial gravity feels weird, doesn't it?" So-Min said, bouncing slightly on her feet. "And the air tastes different. Is that normal?" "You'll get used to it," Nari replied. "Everything takes time to adjust." That night, Nari lay in her bed listening to So-Min's soft breathing from across the room. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't explain what. The room's temperature display kept flickering between numbers. The lights seemed brighter than usual. She closed her eyes and tried her meditation exercises. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Count to 10. Stay calm. Stay balanced. These exercises had become very important to her over the past few months. Though she couldn't remember exactly why she had started doing them, the next morning, Nari woke up to the sound of alarms. Red lights flashed in the hallway outside their room. She jumped out of bed and shook So-Min awake. "What's happening?" So-Min asked, rubbing her eyes. "Emergency alarm," Nari said, getting dressed quickly. "We need to get to the common area." They joined other students in the main corridor. Administrator Voss was talking to a group of technicians. His 4 arms moved in different directions as he pointed at various wall panels. "The gravity generators on this floor malfunctioned during the night," one technician was saying. "The readings don't make sense. The power output was normal, but the gravity field fluctuated wildly." Nari felt a cold feeling in her stomach. She looked at So-Min, who seemed confused but not worried. "Is that bad?" So-Min whispered. "Gravity generators don't just malfunction," Nari whispered back. "They're the most stable systems on the station." Classes were canceled for the morning while technicians fixed the problem. Nari and So-Min returned to their room. Everything looked normal, but Nari noticed that her tablet had moved from her desk to her bed. She was sure she had left it on the desk. "Did you move my tablet?" she asked. So-Min double quote. "No, why would I?" So-Min was looking out the window at Helios Prime. "Do you think that planet has any life on it?" Nari didn't answer. She picked up her tablet and saw that it was fully charged, even though she remembered it being at 60% the night before. The charging cable was still unplugged. More strange things happened over the next few days. The food dispenser in their room started making earth foods that weren't in its programming. The shower temperature changed by itself. Most oddly, the automatic door to their room kept opening and closing when nobody was near it. So Min didn't seem to notice these problems. She was too excited about everything else. She loved her classes, especially the ones about alien cultures. She made friends with students from different species. She asked Nari dozens of questions every day about life at the academy, but Nari noticed that Somin was changing. Her appetite had increased dramatically. She could hear conversations from other rooms through the thick walls. Once, Nari saw her lift a heavy box of books with one hand, even though it should have required two people to move it. "Somin," Nari said one evening as they studied together, "have you been feeling different since you arrived?" "Different how?" Somin looked up from her alien history textbook. "Stronger? More aware of things around you?" Somin thought for a moment. "I guess I have been sleeping better. And my hearing seems sharper. Why?" Nari almost told her the truth. Almost explained that something was happening to both of them, something the academy administrators didn't understand. But she stopped herself. She had learned to keep secrets over the past few months. "Just curious," Nari said. "The station's environment affects everyone differently." That night, Nari did her meditation exercises for twice as long as usual. She focused on staying calm, staying normal, staying hidden. Whatever was happening to Somin had happened to her months ago. She had learned to control it, to hide it, to pretend everything was normal, but having Somin here made it harder. The energy in their room felt different, like two magnets pushing against each other. Nari could feel something building, something she might not be able to control much longer. She looked across the room at Somin, who was sleeping peacefully. The girl had no idea what she was becoming. She had no idea that humans weren't supposed to be living this close to each other in space. The academy administrators had made a mistake, and Nari was afraid that soon everyone would know just how big that mistake was. Outside their window, Helios Prime continued its slow spin. The gas giant storms looked more violent than usual, as if even the planet could sense that something was about to change on floor 15-Delta. Nari closed her eyes and tried to sleep, but she knew that her quiet, peaceful life at the academy was over. Tomorrow would bring new problems, and she wasn't sure she could keep her secrets much longer. The problems on floor 15 Delta got worse every day. What started as small glitches became big headaches for the maintenance crews. Nari watched from her room as technicians came and went, scratching their heads and muttering in different alien languages. The gravity generators were the biggest problem. One morning, Nari woke up floating near the ceiling. Somin was still asleep in her bed, but her blanket was drifting around the room like a cloud. The gravity had completely shut off. During the night, "This is so cool," Somin said when she woke up and saw herself floating. She pushed off from the wall and glided across the room, laughing. Nari was not laughing. She knew this wasn't normal, and she suspected it had something to do with them being together. "We should call maintenance," she said. "Why? This is fun." Somin did a flip in the air. Before Nari could answer, the gravity suddenly came back. Somin crashed onto her bed with a loud thump. Her tablet, which had been floating nearby, hit the floor and cracked. "Ow," Somin said, rubbing her shoulder. The air system was acting strange, too. Sometimes their room became very hot, like a summer day on Earth. Other times it was so cold they could see their breath. The oxygen levels kept changing, making them feel dizzy or too energetic. Worst of all were the doors. Every door on floor 15 Delta had started opening and closing randomly. Students complained that they couldn't sleep because doors slammed shut in the middle of the night. The security system couldn't explain why it was happening. Nari tried to keep doing her meditation exercises, but it was getting harder. Having Somin in the room made her feel restless, like energy was building up inside her with no way to get out. She found herself clenching her fists without realizing it. So Min was changing too, and not just physically. She had always been friendly, but now she seemed to know things she shouldn't know. She could tell what kind of mood their alien classmates were in just by looking at them. She knew when it was going to rain in the artificial weather systems. Before the announcements were made. "How did you know Professor Ziltak was upset today?" Nari asked after their xenobiology class. Their teacher, an insect-like Cytherian, had seemed normal to everyone else. "I could smell it," So Min said. "His pheromones were all wrong. Didn't you notice?" Nari had not noticed. Humans weren't supposed to be able to smell alien pheromones. The chemical receptors in their noses weren't built for it. 1 week after So Min arrived, Station Security Chief Golter came to their floor. He was a large reptilian saurian with dark green scales and yellow eyes. His security uniform was covered in scanning devices and weapons. "I am investigating the unusual energy readings from this floor," he told Administrator Voss in the hallway. Nari listened from behind their slightly open door. "What kind of energy readings?" Administrator Voss asked. "Electromagnetic disturbances, quantum field fluctuations, temperature variations." Chief Golter looked at his scanner. "The readings are strongest near the human quarters." Nari's heart started beating faster. She quietly closed the door and sat on her bed, pretending to study. "Maybe it's just the environmental systems adjusting to having humans on the station," Administrator Voss suggested. "Perhaps," Chief Golter sighed, but he didn't sound convinced. "I will need to scan the human student's room." A few minutes later, there was a knock on their door. Nari opened it to find the security chief standing there with his scanner in his hand. "I need to check your room for energy anomalies," he said. "Of course," Nari said, stepping aside. Chief Golter walked around their room, watching his scanner. Carefully, the device beeped and chirped as he moved. When he pointed it at Nari, the beeping got faster. When he pointed it at So Min, it started making a high-pitched whine. "Interesting," he muttered. "Very interesting." "Is something wrong?" So Min asked. "These readings do not match any known phenomena in our galactic database," Chief Golter said. "You are both emitting unusual electromagnetic signatures." "Is that dangerous?" Nari asked, trying to sound worried but not guilty. "Unknown. I will need to run more tests." The security chief put away his scanner. "Until then, please report any unusual experiences immediately." After he left, So Min turned to Nari. "What do you think that was about?" Nari shrugged, but inside she was panicking. The readings were getting stronger because So Min's abilities were developing faster than Nari's had. Soon it would be impossible to hide what was happening to them. That night, Nari couldn't sleep. She lay in bed listening to So Min breathe, and tried to understand what was going on. 3 months ago, when she first arrived at the academy, she had been completely normal. But after a few weeks in space, strange things started happening. At first, it was small things. She could hear electrical currents running through the walls. She could feel the magnetic fields from the station's generators. Sometimes when she was angry or scared, lights would flicker. She had taught herself to control these feelings through meditation and routine. Stay calm, stay normal, stay hidden. It had worked for months. But So Min's presence was making everything unstable. The next morning brought a new crisis. Students on floor 14 reported that their rooms had become freezing cold during the night, while students on floor 16 said their rooms were like ovens. The environmental control system showed that floor 15 Delta was somehow affecting the floors above and below it. "This is impossible," Administrator Voss told the maintenance chief. "One floor cannot influence the others. The systems are completely separate." But Nari knew it wasn't impossible. She could feel energy moving through the station like water through pipes. And somehow, she and So Min were changing the flow of that energy just by being near each other. So-Min was getting stronger every day. Nari watched her accidentally bend a metal spoon while eating breakfast. Later, she saw So Min stop a falling book with her hand held out, even though the book was too far away for her to touch. "So Min," Nari said quietly as they walked to class. "We need to talk. About what? About what's happening to you, to us. So-min stopped walking. You know something, don't you? You've known this whole time. Nari looked around to make sure. No one was listening. Not here, tonight in our room. But that night, before Nari could explain anything, their room's quantum lock door started opening and closing rapidly. The lock was supposed to be impossible to break, but it clicked. Open and slammed shut over and over again. The noise brought other students into the hallway. They watched in amazement as the door continued its strange behavior. Administrator Voss arrived with a team of technicians, but they couldn't make it stop. The quantum lock is being manipulated by an external force, one technician reported. But our scans show no energy sources capable of doing this. Nari grabbed So-min's hand. We need to stay calm, she whispered. Don't think about the door. Think about something peaceful. So-min nodded and closed her eyes. Slowly, the door stopped moving and stayed shut. Fixed. The technician announced, though he looked confused. After everyone left, Nari sat on her bed and looked at So-min. The girl's eyes were wide with fear and excitement. I did that, didn't I? So-min asked. We both did, Nari admitted. And if we don't figure out how to control it, everyone on this station is going to be in danger. Nari finally told So-min everything. They sat on Nari's bed with the lights turned low, speaking in whispers even though their room was soundproof. It started about 2 months after I arrived, Nari said. At first, I thought I was just adjusting to life in space. But then I realized I could hear things I shouldn't be able to hear, feel things that weren't there. So-min listened with wide eyes. What kind of things? The electrical systems in the walls, the magnetic fields from the engines, the quantum vibrations from the station's core. Nari held up her hand and concentrated. A small spark of electricity jumped between her fingers. I can control electromagnetic energy. That's impossible, So-min breathed. No, it's not. It's what humans become when we're exposed to deep space for long periods. I call it the emergence. Nari made the spark disappear. Our brains are changing, adapting to energy fields that don't exist on Earth. So-min stared at her own hands. Is that why I've been feeling stronger? Why I can hear conversations from other floors? Yes, and it's happening to you much faster than it happened to me. Nari looked worried. That's why all these systems are malfunctioning. Your emergence is powerful and you don't know how to control it yet. Teach me, So-min said immediately. Nari spent the next hour showing So-min the meditation techniques she had learned, breathing exercises to stay calm, mental exercises to focus her thoughts, physical exercises to channel the energy safely. The most important thing is balance, Nari explained. You have to find the quiet place inside yourself and stay there, no matter what happens around you. So-min tried, but it was hard. She could feel power flowing through her body like electricity through wires. When she got excited or nervous, that power wanted to reach out and touch everything around her. The next few days were better. So-min practiced the exercises constantly, and the system malfunctions on their floor decreased. Nari thought they might be able to keep their secret after all. Then everything went wrong. It happened during their advanced physics class. Professor Velinari, a gaseous being who lived inside a containment suit, was demonstrating quantum entanglement using a pair of crystalline spheres. The spheres were supposed to mirror each other's movements when separated. So-min was trying hard to pay attention, but the quantum energy from the demonstration was making her feel strange. The power inside her was responding to the crystals, wanting to connect with them. As you can see, Professor Velinari said, rotating one sphere, the second sphere rotates exactly the same way, even though they are not physically connected. So-min felt a pulling sensation in her chest. Without thinking, she reached out with her mind toward the spheres. She wanted to understand how the connection worked. The moment her consciousness touched the quantum field around the crystals, everything exploded. Both spheres shattered into pieces. The demonstration equipment sparked and smoked. Every electronic device in the classroom flickered on and off rapidly. The lights went out, came back on, then went out again. Professor Velinari's containment suit made alarmed beeping sounds. Everyone! Evacuate. Quantum field collapse. Students rushed for the door. Nari grabbed So-min's arm and pulled her along. So-min looked dazed, like she was sleepwalking. What happened? So-min asked as they reached the hallway. You connected with the quantum field, Nari said urgently. You have to learn control now before something worse happens. But it was too late. That evening, while So-min was trying to meditate, her ability surged again. This time, the effect was much bigger. Nari was reading when she noticed that everything in their room was moving slowly. So-min's breathing seemed to take forever. Her own movements felt like she was underwater. Then she realized what was happening. So-min had created a time dilation field around their room. Everything inside was moving at 1/10 normal speed. So-min, Nari called, but her voice sounded deep and stretched out. From outside their room, they must have appeared to be moving in slow motion. Nari could see maintenance workers in the hallway pointing at their window and talking rapidly to each other. Nari knew she had to act fast. She reached deep inside herself, past the careful controls she had built over months of practice. She found the electromagnetic power she had been hiding and let it flow freely. Energy crackled around her body like lightning. She focused all of it on the quantum field that So-min had accidentally created. The two fields pushed against each other, fighting for control of space and time around their room. The pressure was enormous. Nari felt like her head might explode. But slowly, the time field began to shrink. Everything started moving at normal speed again. So-min opened her eyes and gasped, Nari! What did you do? Nari collapsed on her bed, exhausted. Around her, electricity was still sparking from her fingers and hair. I stopped the time field, but I don't think I can hide my abilities anymore. Through their window, they could see maintenance crews and security officers gathering in the hallway. Scanner devices were beeping wildly. Red warning lights flashed throughout the corridor. They're going to know, So-min said quietly. They already know, Nari replied. The question is what they're going to do about it. 10 minutes later, their door chimed. Nari opened it to find Chief Golter with a full security team. Behind them stood Administrator Voss and several other Academy officials. Students Nari and So-min, Chief Golter said formally. You are confined to quarters pending investigation of the quantum anomaly that occurred in this room 17 minutes ago. We can explain, Nari started to say. Explanations will come later, Administrator Voss interrupted. For now, this floor is being evacuated. All students and staff must move to temporary quarters on other levels. Evacuated? So-min asked. Why? Chief Golter looked at his scanner, which was making constant high-pitched beeps. Because the energy readings from your room are now off our measurement scale. We do not know what other effects you might cause. As the security team left, Nari and So-min sat in their empty room listening to the sounds of evacuation in the hallway. Other students were packing their belongings and moving to different floors. I'm sorry, So-min said. This is all my fault. No, it's not, Nari replied. This was always going to happen. The Academy administrators don't understand what humans become in space. They thought they could treat us like any other species. What happens now? Nar looked out their window at the stars beyond Helios Prime. Somewhere out there was Earth, where billions of humans had no idea that space travel changed their species in fundamental ways. Now we wait, she said. And we hope that when they study us, they decide we're friends instead of enemies. Outside their room, floor 15 Delta was completely empty except for them. The evacuation was complete. Their floor had become a restricted zone, cut off from the rest of the academy. They were alone again, but this time, being alone felt much more dangerous. The next morning, Nari and So-min woke up to find a man standing in their room. He was human, middle-aged, with calm eyes and a gentle smile. He wore a uniform they didn't recognize. Good morning, he said. My name is Pak Jin-woo. I'm a human. Liaison officer with the Galactic Education Consortium. So-min sat up quickly in her bed. How did you get in here? The door was locked. Jin-woo gestured to the closed door behind him. Quantum locks don't work on me anymore. Neither do most. Barry is actually. He pulled a chair over and sat down. We need to talk. Nari studied him carefully. She could sense electromagnetic energy around him, but it was different from her own power. It was controlled, focused, like a river flowing in a channel instead of a flood. You're like us, she said. I'm what you will become with proper training. And time, Jinwoo replied. I've been monitoring the human exchange program since it began. When the reports about Floor 15 Delta reached my desk, I knew it was time to intervene. Are we in trouble? So-min asked. Jinwoo laughed. Trouble? No, you're the most important humans in the galaxy right now. You just don't know it yet. He stood up and walked to their window, looking out at Helios Prime. Tell me, what do you know about humanity's place in galactic civilization? We're new members, Nari said. Earth just joined the galactic community 5 years ago. That's what everyone believes, Jinwoo said. But it's not the whole truth. Earth has been preparing for galactic integration for much longer than that. We've known about the emergence for decades. So-min leaned forward. What do you mean? Jinwoo turned back to them. The emergence isn't random. It's humanity's evolutionary response to cosmic energy fields. When humans are exposed to deep space for extended periods, our brains adapt. We develop abilities that other species consider impossible. But why? Nari asked. Why do we change and other species don't? Because we're different, Jinwoo said simply. Human consciousness interacts with quantum fields in ways that no other known species can match. We don't just observe reality, we can reshape it. He sat back down and looked at both of them seriously. The exchange student program wasn't just about education, it was a test. We needed to know how quickly humans would emerge when exposed to galactic technology and energy fields. A test? So-min sounded upset. We're test subjects? You're pioneers, Jinwoo corrected. The first generation of humans to fully integrate into galactic society. Everything we learn from you will help prepare the billions of humans still. On Earth, Nari felt a mix of anger and curiosity. Why didn't anyone tell us this? Because the emergence has to happen naturally. If you knew what to expect, your development might be different. We needed genuine data about how human consciousness adapts to cosmic environments. Jinwoo stood up again and concentrated. The air around him shimmered, and suddenly there were 2 of him standing in the room. The second version looked exactly the same, but seemed slightly transparent. This is quantum duplication, he explained. I can exist in multiple states simultaneously. The duplicate disappeared. With training, you'll be able to do things like this too. So-min stared at where the duplicate had been. How many humans can do these things? More than you might think. Earth has been quietly training emerged humans for years. We have people throughout galactic civilization now, working as advisors, researchers, and diplomats. Most alien species don't know what we really are. Why the secrecy? Nari asked. Jinwoo's expression became serious. Because some species would see us as a threat, others would want to use us as weapons. A few might even try to eliminate us before we become too powerful. He walked over to their room's computer terminal and placed his hand on it. The screen lit up without being turned on, showing star charts and data files. The galactic community has been stable for thousands of years, he said. Species develop technology, join the community, and find their place in the established order. But humans don't fit that pattern. The star charts on the screen zoomed in on Earth's solar system. We're not just another technological species. We're a consciousness upgrade. When humans are fully integrated into galactic civilization, everything will change. So-min looked frightened. That sounds dangerous. It could be, Jinwoo admitted. That's why this test was so important. We needed to know what happens when emerged humans work together. He gestured to both of them. Your roommate assignment? Wasn't random. Nari was chosen because she showed exceptional control over her abilities. So-min was chosen because she showed rapid adaptation. We wanted to see what would happen when 2 different types of emerged humans lived together. And what did happen? Nari asked, though she suspected she already knew. Your abilities amplified each other. When you're together, you're not just twice as powerful, you're exponentially more powerful. Nari's control helped stabilize Somin's rapid development. Somin's raw power helped Nari break through her own limitations. The computer screen showed energy readings from Floor 15 Delta over the past 2 weeks. The numbers were enormous and growing. Yesterday, when you worked together to stop the time dilation field, you briefly interfered with navigation systems throughout this entire star system, Jinwoo said. Ships as far as 3 light-years away reported minor course corrections. Somin gasped. We affected other star systems? Consciousness is connected across space and time in ways we're still learning to understand, Jinwoo explained. Humans seem to be natural manipulators of those connections. Nari felt overwhelmed. What does this mean for us, for humanity? Jinwoo smiled. It means you're both going to be very busy. The Galactic Education Consortium is meeting an emergency session to discuss humanity's status. Some species want to quarantine Earth, others want to study us. A few are already planning how to use human abilities for their own purposes. What do we do? Somin asked. You learn. You practice. You become the bridge between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. Jinwoo moved toward the door. Starting tomorrow, you'll have new teachers. Emerged humans who will help you understand your abilities. He paused at the door. And you'll help us answer the biggest question of all. Can the galaxy handle humanity, or will humanity reshape the galaxy? After he left, Nari and Somin sat in silence for a long time. Through their window, Helios Prime looked the same as always, but everything else had changed. They weren't just students anymore. They were representatives of humanity's future. Are you scared? Somin asked quietly. Nari thought about it. Yes, but also excited. We're part of something bigger than we ever imagined. Do you think we're ready for this? Nari looked at her roommate and friend. Somin had come so far in just 2 weeks. Her abilities were growing stronger every day, and her control was improving. I don't think anyone could be ready for this, Nari said. But we'll figure it out together. Outside their window, ships continued arriving at the station. More officials, more investigators, more representatives from different alien species. Floor 15 Delta had become the center of galactic attention. Their quiet life as students was over. Their new life as humanity's ambassadors was about to begin. The problem started small but grew quickly. 3 days after Jinwoo's visit, the station's navigation system began showing impossible coordinates. Instead of their actual location near Helios Prime, the displays claimed they were orbiting Earth. Then Jupiter, then stars that didn't exist. Chief Golter called an emergency meeting with all department heads. Nari and Somin watched through their window as groups of aliens hurried through the corridors, their faces showing worry and confusion. The navigation errors are just the beginning, Nari told Somin. I can feel our influence spreading through. The station systems? Somin was sitting on her bed, practicing the control exercises Jinwoo had taught them. Energy flickered around her hands like small lightning bolts. I'm trying to keep it contained, but it's getting harder. The station's food synthesizers were acting strangely, too. The cafeteria on floor 12 had started producing Earth foods that shouldn't exist in its database. Pizza, hamburgers, kimchi, and other human dishes appeared on alien students' plates without being ordered. Some alien students loved the new foods. Others got sick from ingredients their species couldn't digest. The medical bay was treating dozens of cases of food poisoning from substances that were supposed to be impossible to access, but the most disturbing problem was the dreams. Students from different species began reporting identical nightmares about Earth. They saw human cities, human wars, human history. Species that had never encountered humans before were dreaming about events from Earth's past and future. A group of Valkyrie students, who were naturally telepathic, reported that they could suddenly hear human thoughts and emotions. The experience was so overwhelming that 3 of them had nervous breakdowns and had to be sedated. It's like the human consciousness is bleeding into the station's quantum field, Dr. Miran. the station's chief medical officer, reported to Administrator Voss. "I've never seen anything like it." Administrator Voss was desperate. He had moved students from floors 14 and 16 when the problem started. Then he evacuated floors 13 and 17. Now the effects were reaching floor 11 and floor 18. "How much of the station do I need to evacuate?" he asked Chief Golter. "Unknown," the security chief replied. The energy signatures from the human quarters continued to grow stronger. At this rate, the entire station could be affected within a week. That evening, as Nari and So-Min ate dinner in their room, the walls around them began to shimmer. The metal surfaces became transparent, showing the stars beyond as if the station wasn't there. "So-Min," Nari said carefully, "I think you need to stop eating and focus on your breathing exercises." So-Min looked around at the transparent walls. "I can see through the station. I can see ships approaching from light years away." Her eyes were wide and unfocused. "There are so many minds out there. So many different ways of thinking." Nari grabbed So-Min's hands. They were warm, almost hot to the touch. "You're connecting to consciousness across space. You need to pull back before you get lost." But So-Min wasn't listening. Her awareness was expanding beyond the station, beyond the star system. She could sense the thoughts and dreams of beings throughout the galaxy. The experience was beautiful and terrifying. "I can feel Earth," she whispered. "Billions of humans, all connected by something we never knew existed. And they're changing too. Even the ones who never left the planet." Nari realized that So-Min was about to lose control completely. The power flowing through her roommate was affecting space and time around their room. The air itself was beginning to twist and bend. Without thinking, Nari released all the controls she had built over months of practice. Electromagnetic energy exploded out of her body, creating a barrier around their room. She focused all her power on containing So-Min's expanding consciousness. The collision between their abilities was spectacular. Lightning arced between the walls. The room's temperature dropped to freezing, then jumped to desert heat. Gravity shifted and twisted, making them float, then slam to the floor, then float again. But most importantly, Nari managed to pull So-Min's consciousness back from its galactic journey. So-Min collapsed on her bed, gasping. "What happened?" "I was everywhere at once. You almost lost yourself in the galactic consciousness network," Nari explained, her own power still crackling around her body. Humans aren't meant to handle that much awareness all at once, but their battle had caused more problems. The electromagnetic pulse from Nari's power had interfered with every electronic system on the station. Ships throughout the star system reported navigation failures. Several space elevators on nearby planets stopped working temporarily. Emergency alarms blared. Throughout the station, red lights flashed in every corridor. Automated systems announced containment breach. In a dozen different languages, Administrator Voss stood in the central command center, watching displays that showed chaos throughout the sector. Communication networks were down. Transportation systems were offline. Even planetary defense grids had experienced temporary failures. "The humans have become a threat to galactic infrastructure," one of his advisors said. "We need to consider more drastic measures." Chief Golter approached with his security team. "Sir, I recommend we prepare to move the humans to a specially designed containment facility. Their abilities are beyond what our station can handle." "Where would we put them?" Administrator Voss asked. "Every facility in the sector has reported effects from their activities. There are research stations in deep space away from populated systems," the advisor suggested. "We could isolate them until we understand how to control their abilities." Nari and So-Min knew nothing about these discussions. They sat in their room, exhausted from their battle with forces they barely understood. Through their window, they could see maintenance ships working frantically to repair damaged systems. "We can't stay here," Nari said quietly. "We're becoming too dangerous." "Where would we go?" So-Min asked. "Jinwoo said there are other emerged humans throughout the galaxy, but we don't know how to contact them." Before Nari could answer, their room's communication system activated. Jinwoo's face appeared on the screen, but he looked concerned. Nari, Somin, I hope you can hear this. The situation has become critical. Several alien species are demanding that humanity be quarantined or removed from galactic civilization entirely. The image flickered as interference from their abilities affected the transmission. A decision about humanity's future will be made within days. You two have become symbols of what humans might become. How you handle the next few days could determine whether humanity has a place in the galaxy or becomes an enemy of it. The transmission cut out, leaving them alone with the weight of representing their entire species? No pressure, Somin said weakly. Nari managed a small smile. We've come this far, we can handle whatever comes next. But as she looked out at the chaos they had caused, she wondered if they really could control powers that seemed to grow stronger every day. And she wondered what would happen to humanity if they failed. The emergency conference room on level 50 had never hosted so many different species at once. Representatives from 12 major galactic powers sat around a circular table, their various breathing apparatus, environmental suits, and translation devices creating a symphony of mechanical sounds. Nari and Somin watched the proceedings through a secure video link from their quarters. Jinwoo had arranged for them to observe the meeting that would decide humanity's fate. The humans represent an unprecedented threat to galactic stability, declared Ambassador Kethmer of the Corvan Empire. His insectoid features showed clear aggression as he spoke. In 2 weeks, 2 untrained individuals have disrupted infrastructure across multiple star systems. The threat is not intentional, replied Counselor Yeleneth of the Volcari Coalition. Her blue, crystalline form pulsed with logical patterns. Our analysis suggests the humans cannot control their abilities due to lack of proper training and understanding. Administrator Voss stood at the head of the table, looking exhausted. Whatever the cause, the effects are undeniable. Floor 15 Delta of this station has been completely evacuated. Ships throughout the sector are reporting navigation anomalies. Some species are experiencing psychological effects just from proximity to the humans. Chief Golter activated a holographic display showing energy readings from the past 2 weeks. The numbers started small but grew exponentially. If this growth rate continues, he said, the humans' influence could affect entire regions of galactic space within months. At the back of the room, a door opened silently. 3 humans entered, wearing formal diplomatic uniforms. The first was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and confident bearing. Behind him came a woman in a white coat carrying scientific equipment, and a younger man in military dress. "Honored representatives," the first man said, his voice carrying clearly through the room's translation systems. "I am Ambassador Lee Dong-hyen, representing Earth's government. With me are Dr. Park Min-ji, our leading researcher on human consciousness evolution, and Commander Yoon Tae-ho, our military liaison." Several alien representatives stood up in alarm. No humans had been scheduled to attend this meeting. "How did you get past station security?" Chief Golter demanded. Ambassador Lee smiled. "We asked politely. And when that didn't work, Commander Yoon demonstrated that your containment fields are not effective against emerged humans." Commander Yoon nodded respectfully to Chief Golter. "No damage was done to your systems, sir. We simply phased through the barriers." Dr. Park stepped forward and activated her own holographic display. "Esteemed delegates, you are discussing humanity's future based on incomplete information. May I present our research on the emergence phenomenon?" "This is highly irregular," Administrator Voss protested. The humans were not invited to speak. "With respect," Ambassador Lee said, "you are discussing whether to quarantine or eliminate our species. I believe we have a right to defend ourselves." Counselor Yeleneth pulsed with interested patterns. "Logic supports allowing the humans to present their data. Decisions made without complete information are inherently flawed." Dr. Park's display showed brain scans, energy readings, and statistical analyses. "The abilities you've observed are not random mutations. They are humanity's natural evolutionary response to cosmic energy fields. Every human who spends extended time in space will eventually emerge. That makes them even more dangerous, Ambassador Cathmore hissed. If all humans developed these abilities, they could dominate the galaxy. Or help it evolve, Dr. Park replied. Calmly, humans don't just manipulate quantum fields, we can bridge different types of consciousness. We can facilitate communication and understanding between species that have never been able to connect before. To demonstrate, she turned to a Velkari delegate who had been struggling with the universal translator. Dr. Park placed her hand near the alien's crystalline head and concentrated. Suddenly, the Velkari's thoughts became audible to everyone in the room, translated not by machines but by Dr. Park's consciousness interfacing with the alien mind. This is remarkable, the Velkari thought, and everyone could understand. I can feel her thoughts merging with mine, but there is no violation, no force, only gentle connection. Dr. Park stepped back, and the mental link faded. This is what emerged humans can do. We can serve as living bridges between different forms of consciousness. Commander Yoon activated his own display, showing star charts and tactical data. We're not here to conquer or dominate. We're here to offer partnership. Earth has been preparing for this moment for decades. We have protocols, training programs, and containment procedures for managing emerged humans. Protocols? Chief Coulter asked suspiciously. Methods for channeling human abilities constructively, Commander Yoon explained. The 2 students on floor 15 Delta are untrained. With proper guidance, they could be completely safe. Ambassador Lee stepped forward again. We propose a demonstration. Give us permission to work with Nari and So Min. Let us show you what properly trained emerged humans can accomplish. The room erupted in arguments. Some species demanded immediate quarantine. Others wanted to study human abilities. A few suggested using humans as living weapons. Ambassador Kethmer slammed his appendage on the table. Enough! These humans are too dangerous to be allowed free movement through galactic space. They must be contained. Contained where? Counselor Yeleneth asked logically. Their abilities affect systems across multiple star systems. There may be no containment facility large enough. Dr. Park smiled. Actually, there is. Earth itself. Our home planet is naturally shielded from affecting other star systems by its unique magnetic field and cosmic positioning. Emerged humans can develop their abilities there without risk to galactic infrastructure. But that would require us to trust you, another delegate said. Ambassador Lee nodded seriously. Yes, it would. Just as we're trusting you not to destroy us out of fear. The debate continued for hours. Some species saw opportunity in human abilities. Others saw only threat. A few remained neutral, wanting more data before making decisions. Finally, Counselor Yeleneth called for a recess. This decision requires careful consideration. We propose a test period. Allow the human delegation to work with their students for 1 week. If they can demonstrate control and peaceful intent, we will reconsider humanity's status. And if they fail, Ambassador Kethmer demanded, then we will discuss more permanent solutions, Yeleneth replied ominously. In their quarters, Nari and So Min watched the proceedings with growing anxiety. They're scared of us, So Min said quietly. They should be, Nari replied. We're scared of ourselves. But maybe that's about to change. On the screen, Ambassador Lee was speaking directly to the camera, addressing them. Nari, So Min, you've heard the discussion. The future of human galactic relations depends on what happens in the next week. Dr. Park, and I will be coming to floor 15 Delta tomorrow to begin your real training. He paused, his expression serious but hopeful. You've been carrying a burden that no students should have to carry. But you've also been pioneering a path that billions of humans will follow. Tomorrow, we help you learn to walk that path safely. The transmission ended, leaving them alone with the weight of representing their entire species. Think we can do it? Somin asked. Nari looked at her roommate and friend, remembering how far they'd both come in just a few weeks. We have to, she said. The galaxy is watching. The next morning, Floor 15 Delta was no longer empty. Teams of human specialists moved through the corridors, setting up equipment and monitoring stations. Dr. Park arrived first, carrying devices that looked like a mix of Earth technology and alien science. "Good morning," she said to Nari and Somin. "I'm Dr. Parkman G. I've been studying human consciousness evolution for 15 years, and I'm here to help you understand what you're becoming." Ambassador Lee followed her along with Jinwoo, and another woman they hadn't met before. "This is Dr. Choi Haijin," Ambassador Lee said, introducing the newcomer. She was Nari's teacher on Earth and one of the first humans to fully emerge. Nari stared at her former teacher in shock. Dr. Choi looked exactly the same as she had on Earth 2 years ago, but now Nari could sense the incredible power contained within her. "You knew?" Nari asked. "You knew this would happen to me." Dr. Choi smiled gently. "I knew you had the potential. That's why you were chosen for the exchange program. You showed exceptional control even before your abilities manifested." "And Somin?" "Somin was chosen for different reasons," Dr. Park explained. "Her psychological profile showed rapid adaptation to new situations. We needed to see what would happen when 2 different types of emerged humans lived together." Somin looked hurt. "So everything was planned? Our friendship, our roommate assignment, everything?" "The assignment was planned," Dr. Choi said. "Your friendship is real. The bond you formed is actually stronger than we expected." Over the next 3 days, the human team worked with Nari and Somin to understand their abilities. Dr. Park's equipment could measure and map the quantum fields they generated. Dr. Choi taught them advanced control techniques. Jinwoo showed them how to work together safely, but the most surprising discovery came from Ambassador Lee. "You're not just developing abilities," he told them during a training session. "You're creating something new. When you work together, you generate fields that we've never seen before." He showed them readings from their practice sessions. Individual emerged humans can manipulate matter and energy. But when you 2 combine your abilities, you're affecting consciousness itself on a galactic scale. "Is that why aliens throughout the sector are having dreams about Earth?" Somin asked. "Exactly. You're creating bridges between human consciousness and alien minds. The implications are enormous." Dr. Park was excited by the data. This could revolutionize how different species communicate. Imagine being able to truly understand how another species thinks and feels. But their training was interrupted by urgent news from the conference. 3 more species have demanded immediate human quarantine, Jinwoo reported. The Catherian hive claims that human consciousness is infectious and could alter their species' collective mind. The Zenth Union says our abilities violate the laws of physics and threaten universal stability. "What about the species that support us?" Nari asked. The Volcari remain neutral but interested. "A few smaller species see potential benefits. But we're running out of time." Ambassador Lee made a decision. "We need a public demonstration. Something that shows the galactic community that humans can be partners, not threats." "What kind of demonstration?" Dr. Choi asked. "The stations? Quantum core has been unstable since Nari and Somin's first major incident," Ambassador Lee said. "If they can stabilize it using their abilities, it would prove that humans can solve problems instead of just causing them." Chief Golter was skeptical when they proposed the idea. "The quantum core powers the entire station. If they make a mistake, thousands of beings could die. If we don't try, humanity might be exiled from galactic civilization forever." Ambassador Lee replied, "The risk is worth it." After hours of debate, Administrator Voss agreed to let them try. The demonstration was scheduled for the next day, with representatives from every major species watching. That evening, Nari and Somin sat in their room, preparing for the most important day of their lives. "Are you nervous?" Somin asked. "Terrified," Nari admitted. "If we fail tomorrow, it's not just our future at stake. It's the future of every human who might want to explore the galaxy." "Then we don't fail," Somin said simply. The next morning, Floor 15 Delta was packed with observers. Alien diplomats, scientists, and security officers watched from safe distances as Nari and Somin were escorted to the station's core chamber. The quantum core was a massive, crystalline structure that generated the energy fields keeping the station operational. Normally, it pulsed with steady blue light, but now it flickered erratically, showing the strain from weeks of exposure to uncontrolled human abilities. The core's quantum matrix is partially collapsed, Dr. Park explained to the observers. Traditional repair methods would take weeks and might not work. The humans will attempt to restructure the quantum field directly. Nari and Somin stood before the core holding hands. They could feel its chaotic energy patterns, the way different fields were fighting against each other instead of working together. Just like our first day as roommates, Somin whispered. Except now we know how to work together, Nari replied. They closed their eyes and reached out with their consciousness, feeling the quantum patterns surrounding the core. Nari's electromagnetic abilities mapped the energy flows while Somin's quantum manipulation identified the broken connections. Working together, they began to repair the damage. Nari provided stability while Somin made adjustments. Their combined consciousness created a bridge between the chaotic fields, teaching them to harmonize instead of conflict. The core's flickering slowed, then stopped. Its blue light became steady and bright. Energy readings throughout the station jumped to higher efficiency levels than had ever been recorded, but they didn't stop there. Working together, Nari and Somin created something unprecedented, a quantum communication field that connected every observer in the chamber. For a few moments, every being present could feel what the others were feeling. The logical satisfaction of the Volcari, the protective instincts of the Corven, the curiosity of the humans, the careful administration of the Vectar instead of erasing differences. A connection highlighted them while creating understanding. Each species maintained their unique perspective, but they could finally comprehend how others experienced reality when the connection faded. The chamber was silent. Counselor Yeleneth was the first to speak. This is not domination or conquest. This is cooperation at a level we never imagined possible. Even Ambassador Kethmer seemed shaken. I felt the human desire for friendship. It was genuine, not conquest, but partnership. Administrator Voss looked at the energy readings in amazement. The station is operating at 300% normal efficiency. How is that possible? Dr. Park smiled. Humans don't just fix things. We help them become better than they were before. Over the next few hours, the observer species held emergency consultations. The demonstration had changed everything. Instead of seeing humans as threats, many now saw them as potential partners in solving galactic challenges, but some species still had concerns. If humans can do this, one delegate asked, what's to stop them from eventually controlling all galactic infrastructure? Ambassador Lee had an answer ready. The same thing that stops us from controlling each other: choice, ethics, and mutual respect. Emerging humans undergo extensive ethical training. We understand that power without responsibility leads to destruction. And if some humans choose not to follow those ethics, Chief Coulter asked, then other humans will stop them. Dr. Choi said firmly, we police ourselves because we know the consequences of unchecked power. After 2 days of discussion, the Galactic Education Consortium reached a decision. Floor 15 Delta will be officially designated as a restricted research zone, Administrator Voss announced. Not for containment, but for the development of human galactic cooperation protocols. The restriction was actually a promotion. Floor 15 Delta would become the first official human galactic interface zone, where human students and alien students could learn to work together safely. Nari and Somin would become the first human ambassadors to the Galactic Education Consortium, helping develop programs for future human integration. Your floor will be remembered as the birthplace of a new kind of galactic civilization, Ambassador Lee told them. One based on understanding instead of just tolerance. That evening, as Nari and Somin watched ships arriving with the first wave of volunteer alien students, they reflected on how much had changed. Do you ever miss the quiet? Somin asked. Nari looked around their room, now filled with monitoring equipment and communication devices. Outside their window, technicians were installing new systems designed to work with human abilities instead of being disrupted by them. Sometimes, she said, but I think this is better. We're not just studying alien cultures anymore. We're helping create a new one. Think it will work? Nari watched an alien student wave at them through the window. A month ago, that student had been afraid to share the same floor with humans. Now they were volunteering to live and study together. It's working already, she said. 6 months later, Floor 15 Delta looked completely different. What had once been empty corridors with just 2 human students was now the busiest floor on the station. The walls had been rebuilt with quantum-responsive materials that worked with human abilities instead of being damaged by them. Nari walked through the hallway, checking on different study groups. In room 15A, 2 human students were teaching a Valkyrie how to communicate through electromagnetic fields. In room 15C, a Corvan warrior was learning patience from a human meditation instructor. Ambassador Nari, called out Zopak, a young Catherian student. Could you help us with the consciousness bridging exercise? Nari smiled. 6 months ago, the idea of a Catherian asking a human for help would have been impossible. The insect-like species had been one of the most opposed to human integration. Of course, she said, entering the study room. Inside, 3 alien students and 2 humans were practicing the technique Nari and Somin had accidentally discovered. They were learning to create temporary mental connections that allowed different species to understand each other's perspectives. The key is not to force the connection, Nari explained, demonstrating with her own abilities. Let it form naturally, like water finding its level. The students tried again, and this time the connection formed smoothly. For a few seconds, the Catherian could feel what it was like to be mammalian, while the human student experienced the collective consciousness of the hive mind. Fascinating, the Catherian buzzed. Individual thought is so intense. How do you handle the loneliness? How do you handle never being alone? The human replied with wonder. Nari left them to their discussion and continued her rounds. As the floor's human ambassador, she was responsible for making sure all the integration programs ran smoothly. She found Somin in the main teaching lab, working with Dr. Park on a new project. They were mapping the quantum patterns that different species consciousnesses created, trying to understand how human abilities could facilitate better communication. How's the research going? Nari asked. Amazing, Somin replied, her eyes bright with excitement. We've discovered that every species has unique quantum signatures. Humans can learn to translate between them. Dr. Park nodded. Somin has become particularly good at working with crystalline-based consciousness like the Volcari. She can help them express emotions in ways other species can understand. Nari was proud of how much Somin had grown. Her roommate had transformed from an excited student into a skilled mediator and teacher. Her abilities were now completely under control, and she used them to help others instead of accidentally causing chaos. Speaking of translation, Somin said, we have visitors coming tomorrow. More alien students? No, Somin grinned. Human visitors, the first official diplomatic delegation from Earth. Nari felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. For months, they had been the only human representatives in this part of the galaxy. Tomorrow, they would meet with Earth's most experienced diplomats and emerged humans. That evening, they held their weekly integration meeting in the floor's main conference room. 30 students from 12 different species gathered to discuss their progress and challenges. The consciousness bridging exercises are working well, reported Villanary Crystal, a Volcari student who had become one of their best volunteers. However, some species find the experience overwhelming. We're working on intensity controls, said David, one of the newer human students. We think we can create partial bridges that are less intense but still allow understanding. A Corvan student named Grathmer raised his hand. My species is interested in learning human combat techniques that incorporate your abilities. Could this be added to the curriculum? Nari exchanged a look with Somin. Combat applications were a sensitive subject. We can teach defensive techniques, Somin said carefully. But our focus is on cooperation, not warfare. Of course, Grathmar replied, but understanding how to defend against hostile emerged humans would be valuable for all species. It was a fair point. As more humans emerged and spread throughout the galaxy, other species needed to understand both the benefits and the potential threats. The meeting continued with reports from different working groups. They were developing new communication protocols, studying the effects of human consciousness on alien technology, and creating safety guidelines for mixed species environments. After the meeting, Nari and Somin returned to their room. It was smaller now, with most of the space converted to shared facilities, but it was still home. Do you ever think about what would have happened if the Academy had never assigned us as roommates? Somin asked. Nari considered the question. I think I would have stayed hidden for much longer. Maybe I would never have revealed my abilities at all. And I probably would have had a breakdown when my abilities emerged, Somin added. Without your help, I might have hurt someone. The Academy administrators were right about one thing, Nari said. Humans do need interaction with other humans. We're stronger together. The next morning, the diplomatic delegation arrived. Ambassador Li led a group of 20 humans, including several emerged individuals that Nari and Somin had never met. Welcome to Floor 15 Delta, Nari said formally as they gathered in the main conference room. Congratulations, Ambassador Li replied. Your work here has exceeded every expectation. The programs you've developed are being implemented on stations throughout the galaxy. Dr. Choi stepped forward with a tablet showing galactic maps. 15. New human galactic interface zones are being constructed. Each one is based on the protocols you created here. What about resistance from other species? Somin asked. Still exists, Ambassador Li admitted, but it's decreasing. The benefits of human galactic cooperation are becoming obvious. Trade efficiency is up 40% in sectors with human liaisons. Several interspecies conflicts have been resolved through consciousness bridging techniques. Commander Yoon presented them with new information about Earth's integration progress. Over 10,000 humans have now emerged naturally. We have training centers on 6 continents. The first human space exploration vessels with fully emerged crews launched last month. And the most important news, Dr. Choi said with a smile, Earth has been invited to send a permanent representative to the Galactic Council. Nari and Somin stared at her in shock. A permanent representative? Nari asked. Yes, and the Council has specifically requested that the representative be chosen from the graduates of the Interface Zone program. Somin looked confused, but we're still students. Not anymore, Ambassador Li said. Effective today, you are both being promoted to senior ambassadors. And in 3 months, one of you will have the opportunity to represent humanity at the highest levels of galactic government. The news was overwhelming. They had started as simple exchange students and accidentally become pioneers of human galactic integration. Now they were being offered roles that would shape the future of both civilizations. Who chooses which one of us goes? Nari asked. You do, Dr. Choi said. The partnership you formed is the foundation of everything we've accomplished. The decision should be yours. Over the next few days, the delegation observed the interface zone's operations. They were impressed by how smoothly different species worked together, how conflicts were resolved, and how new ideas emerged from mixed species collaboration. You've created something unprecedented, one of the emerged visitors told them. A place where consciousness evolution happens safely and constructively. But the biggest surprise came on the last day of the visit. We've made a decision about the Galactic Council representative, Ambassador Li announced. After observing your work and consulting with the Council, we believe the best choice is both of you. Both? Somin asked. The Council has agreed to accept a dual representation, Dr. Choi explained. Your partnership has been so effective that they want to see how it works at the highest diplomatic levels. You would be the first joint ambassadors in galactic history, Commander Yoon added. Nari and Somin looked at each other. It was a huge responsibility, but they had been preparing for it without realizing it. We accept, they said together. 3 months later, Nari and Somin stood on the observation deck of a council transport ship, watching the massive structure of Galactic Council Central grow larger as they approached. Floor 15 Delta was now officially known as the Sol Galactic Integration Institute. Hundreds of students from dozens of species studied there. The programs they had developed were being used throughout galactic space. Nervous? Somin asked. Excited, Nari replied. We're going to represent not just humanity, but the idea that different species can become more than the sum of their parts. Think we're ready? Nari looked at her partner and best friend. Somin had grown from an excited student into a skilled diplomat and consciousness bridge. Together, they had learned to combine their abilities in ways that created new possibilities for cooperation and understanding. I think we've been ready for a while, Nari said. We just didn't know it. As their ship docked with Council Central, they could see representatives from hundreds of species waiting to meet the humans who had changed the definition of galactic cooperation. Their journey from reluctant roommates to galactic ambassadors was complete. But their real work was just beginning.